Detroit Business Hub Group Director Nancy O'Neill works with her team of experts. Listen to conversations with business professionals to discover the latest business innovations, insights, and trends. Find out what's hot and what's not in today's business market.
Well, hello, everyone. We are so glad that you are able to join us. I'm here today on our special podcast, and we have Dennis Murphy here with IBC, two of his commercial investors, and that is Daryl Brown and Gerald Graham. And with that introduction, I will let them go ahead and further introduce themselves. We'll go ahead and start with you, Dennis.
Yep, thinking right now we acquired about 10 commercial buildings. So we got quite a few commercial buildings. We got a lot of them leased out. Recently, we just closed the deal with the national tenant, about a multi-billion-dollar company, bringing them to the west side of Detroit, Grand River Greenfield corridor. We worked actually with Dennis with actually acquiring the property, getting the construction loan and everything. So we look forward today to talking about some of the financing and how to fulfill some of your real estate needs.
Yep, and this is Gerald. He is the better half of the JEDA group. And now for Daryl Brown.
I doubt that very seriously. It's I'm Daryl Brown. I am the better half of the JEDA. But like everything Gerald has said, that we've been in business for a few years now, and we've acquired over 10 commercial properties. And there's a lot of opportunities out there for us. I was just getting off a nice webinar myself, very educating, very informing. But we're just looking forward to answering all your questions. And Dennis was a big help to us. So it was a big help to us.
Well, thank you.
Sounds good. Dennis, we'll go right into your PowerPoint. You can go ahead and get started. And you're just going to say, Vanna, change the slide when you want me to move forward.
Absolutely. So yeah, I always start with this. The best way to predict the future is to create it, by Peter Drucker. So Peter Drucker is a famous business consultant. And to me, and it speaks to these guys and their journey, everybody sits around the bar talking about how they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to invest in real estate, it's going to be awesome, we're going to buy a building, we're going to be billionaires. And then they keep drinking, go to bed, wake up the next morning, go to the job they don't like. So the best way to predict the future is create it, make it happen. That's what these guys did. We'll talk a little bit about their journey and how I came into it, and hopefully help them out and help them propel themselves forward. So if you switch to the next slide, you'll have my information. I'm over in Northville, but I do lending all over the country. I do a ton in Detroit. I love Detroit. I grew up in Detroit, youngest of 10 kids. So, I watched Detroit go through all kinds of cycles and ups and downs. And it is just really cool to be a part of this latest regeneration. I think this one's going to stick. And these guys are the type of guys that are going to help make that happen. So, it's a little boring. I'm going to make it as interesting as I can. But if we jump to the first slide, we'll jump into commercial real estate financing. Doesn't get any better than that. So this PowerPoint cracks me up, but it just tells the story. Everybody comes to me and says, I went to the bank and they told me, basically give me a blood sample, a urine sample, your firstborn, and 3 volumes worth of stuff. I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to do this. Can you help me out? Yeah. So I have a foot in the entrepreneurial world and I have a foot in the banking world. And I'm kind of, I help the cell phone talk to the tin can. The jargon, that these guys use, you could say, hey, you need to pay your bills. They say debt service. It's very formal. And I love my banking partners and they're great. But oftentimes they need to be able to talk to their clients a little bit better. And that's what this represents. So it's a frustrating thing. There's a lot of paperwork, but that's partly what I do, is help you guys get through it when you're going to get that first commercial loan. Or frankly, I've got guys, I was with a guy today, he's a Canadian investor. This is probably the 20th deal I've done with them. And we had a closing today. If you want to jump to the next slide. So again, this one just kind of cracks me up. You bring all this stuff to the lender yells and screams and says, it's not enough, give me more. That's not the right document. It wasn't filled out correctly. It wasn't signed by everybody. And, so, and I'm going to tell this story from both sides, from the borrower's side and from the lender's side, because, borrowers aren't saints either. So there is an overwhelming amount of information that's asked for. And I think we actually talked about this before we got on this call. People always say, well, if I had that much money, I wouldn't need a loan. You tell me if I've got a bunch of money in the bank, you'll lend me money. Not always the case. And then people get to the point where it's like, to heck with it, I'm never going to get the financing I need. But in reality, bankers need to make loans. That's how they make money. That's how banks make money. They want to make sure that you're actually going to pay that loan back. So, I always use the analogy, if your buddy asked you to borrow $1,000, you're going to think, did he pay me back the last time? What's his history of paying everybody else back? He still owes Uncle Joe $20 and, it's been 2 years. I'm not lending this guy money. If the other guy who has a history of, you lend him money, he pays you back on payday. That's how it works. So that's the guy that I'm going to lend money to. That sounds simple, but that's the way a bank looks at it. What's your history? What's your credit score? What experience do you have? That type of thing. If you can show them that you have that, they'll lend to you. It's not as scary as people think it is. So let's jump to the lender's side of the story. So that's the lender at the end of a week dealing with clients. And I deal with this all the time because I help my clients through everything. I get all the documentation together. I basically underwrite it. I tell them where they need more, where they need to clean it up. You're not going to make it to an approval, so we have to change this. We have to bring in another investor, whatever it might be. So at the end of a week, a banker is, just give me the information I need. I've asked you 100 times. You've been on vacation. Your accountant's going to do it. It's tax season. This is happening. That's happening. And then, and actually this happened to me today as well. So I have a portal that my clients upload stuff to. So I've been watching over the last couple of days. He's been uploading. 10 minutes after he uploads the last thing, I get an email because it pops up and I see it and I get the email and it says, have you looked at my stuff? When do you think we can close? I kid you. It's like, are you kidding me? You literally just sent me the last piece of information. I haven't looked at anything yet. I'll look at it when you get it all to me. So then you hear, you want to close when? So, and Daryl, you and Daryl can attest to this as well. You guys get pressure from the seller. You're buying a building, you sign the PA. We got to get financing. Dennis, come on, make it happen. And then we finally get to the point where I get all the information. Okay, when can we close? Well, we've got to do an appraisal. We've got to do an environmental. We got to do a survey. We got to get title work. We got to do all that. We're not closing next week, guys. And that's the lender's side of it. Whether it's a banker, whether it's me, we get that all the time. And we have to, again, make sure that the bank is happy, the client is happy, we meet everybody in the middle, and we bridge that gap.
Yeah, so just what Dennis was talking about, some of those things take a lot of time. I mean, you're talking about appraisals, environmentals, getting all your construction numbers. I mean, these things can take 2 to 3 months. So it's not like buying a residential home where you may have a 30-day due diligence. You probably might need to plan for a 60 or 90-day due diligence. And sometimes we've been in situations where we almost lost the deals and asked for extensions or had to put extra money down to keep the deal going. So that's some of the things you are faced up against.
Not only do they take the time, but they take a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You got to put money down. These third-party reports cost money. And so often people come to me and they say, well, yeah, I want a 30-year mortgage. I want 2% interest rate. And, I have my 1003 done, which is a residential mortgage application. So we should be able to close in a couple of weeks, right? It's like, no, not even close. And I always liken it to this when somebody, because I'll get residential loan officers that will send me deals. And they'll say, well, I took an application. Can you get my guy financed? That's like me walking into a doctor's office that I've never met before and saying, what's wrong with me? I don't know. We got to run some blood tests and do some x-rays and do all that. Then we'll know. And that's kind of the difference between residential and commercial. And it's a frustrating process. You know, if it were easy, I wouldn't be needed. That's why people come to me, not only to get them the best rates, the best terms, but to kind of take them through this process. I've done it thousands and thousands of times. So when somebody comes to me and they've been kind of beat up by the market, you know, it's okay. We'll take care of it. We'll get it done. And even in the situation that Gerald just mentioned, you know, I've been in this business for a long time, whether it be construction or title or whatever. I've touched it all. So I can go to that seller and their realtor and kind of talk it through and be that consultant that helps on each side, as opposed to the banker isn't going to do that for you. I'm the liaison in between everybody.
And just to piggyback on that, so we actually got in touch with Dennis because we were talking to Stephanie Smith.
Yep.
Used to be at Huntington. She's at Fifth Third. And, you know, we got kind of a soft and formal, you know, denial kind of. But it was a nice letdown. She sent an email and copied Dennis on it. John Schillinger from Detroit Development Fund introduced us to some people. And from there, things kind of started moving in the right direction. But we weren't in a position at that time to get conventional financing. But working with Dennis, he helped us get our package together, get all the numbers, all the paperwork. And now we have a way better understanding of how to get conventional financing.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about that process with these guys and in general. If you can flip to the next slide. So yeah, this is again just an example of taking the friction out of the process. And we'll dig into in the next couple slides. We'll talk about some specific programs. And we'll try and I'll be as short as I can on that because it just makes you want to go to sleep. But it's worth touching on. And then we'll kind of talk about the process. But it really is, that, oh my God, I've got to get from here to actually getting the financing, getting everything in place. And oftentimes it's, I got to create an entity for the holding company. You don't want to hold that in your own name. You get sued, somebody slips and falls outside, they're suing you, taking everything you have. You create the LLC that holds the property. It only takes what's in that LLC, and always see an attorney to do that. But I've got to help, kind of quarterback all of that. Could be business insurance. Again, with the attorney setting everything up. With these guys, I don't know if I did it with you guys or not, but I do it with a lot of my clients. I'll recommend you to an attorney. They do the operating agreement. So, you guys have your guidelines that if one of you dies, what happens, all of that within the operating agreement. So it's so much more than just, hey, I want to buy a building and I'm going to throw a tenant in there and it's going to be great. There's so much more that goes into it. But there's help out there, whether it's me or going to a real estate attorney. Just know anybody who might see this, it's not for somebody else to do. Anybody can do this. Anybody can do it. It takes some hard work, and sometimes it takes some time, but it's worth doing. And then once you get that first taste of that first check coming in from one of your tenants, you want the next building. And then, these guys can definitely speak to that. They're buying up, blocks now. So that's what this represents, just kind of bridging that gap to where you want to be. Let's flip to the next one. So this is an interesting slide. This is myself and Gerald and Daryl and the lender at the bank. And it's funny, I had to look for this on my phone because Gerald had it taken and sent to me. They were proud. This is like, putting the A paper on the refrigerator. When I first talked to these guys, it was from the bank, it was love you guys, but you're just not there yet. You're just not ready for prime time. But you guys will be there. You guys are good. You're smart. You've got everything. You just got to clean it up a little bit. Go see my guy. So I was referred to them. And then we started looking everything over. I think Daryl threatened me a couple times, and then
maybe it's the other way around.
It wasn't me. I was not the bad guy. I was not the bad guy.
Talking about the first phone call. Remember, Dennis was like, I like this guy.
Dennis, oh my God. Daryl, you need credit, man. These women in your life, they just ruined it for you.
Well, it was like, well, I signed on a car for her, and I signed on a house for her, and it's like, come on, man, you gotta change that stuff.
It's the big thing, really, like what you were saying. You need somebody that's gonna be honest with you. Somebody that's just gonna be straight up and tell you, hey, you gotta fix this, you gotta fix that. No, don't circle around.
And you can't take it personal and be sensitive about it.
It's just business, and
business.
You guys hired me to do a job. I'm going to help you get to promised land on that. And sometimes, people that do what I do, or people in institutions, they're going to be a little nicer about it. To me, let's just get right to it. Let's solve the problem. Let's get there. And again, there were a couple things that were found, past credit stuff, like, the automobile that was somebody else's fault. And then, Daryl's like, that's all they found? Like, all right, don't say another word. Let's go forward.
Nexus report. I didn't know. I was like, what is a Nexus? So
he said it first, and then he's like, oh, that's all they found? All right.
Hey, I wasn't always the police commissioner.
Right. So, but this is a proud moment for them, but it's a proud moment for me. And this is what I love about what I do. And again, it was both these guys, we did our first deal together. It was a private money loan. So we'll talk about private money, real quick. So oftentimes, I always use the example, you get a building and it's a great building, but it's like 20% occupied. It needs fixing up. So a bank's going to say, well, no, you're not going to make enough on that building to pay the rent, to pay the mortgage. So no, we're not going to lend on that. But it's great, and you can make money off of it. So that's where I come in. We do private money lending and say, we might take another property. We know the value of this property when it's completed is going to be worth it. So we're going to lend to you. So, in commercial, we call it private money lending. Back in the residential days, we called it hard money. Why is it called hard money? Because it's hard. It's hard terms. It's not cheap. Private money.
Definitely not cheap.
Private money loans are generally going to be double-digit interest. There's going to be a few points that are charged, and it's going to be short-term. We use the term bridge loan. It's bridging from where you're at today to where you can be to get institutional funding. So in the example, 20% occupied, needs some rehab. You borrow the money to purchase the building. Along with that, you borrow the money to rehab the building. Get tenants in there. Now you've got a good rent roll. Cash flow is happening. Now you can pay the mortgage payment. A commercial lender will ask for a debt service. They're going to look at you personally, and they're going to look at the project and say, when it's done, are you going to be able to debt service? So service the debt that we're about to give you. And they always want to see at least a 1.25. What does that mean? You got to have $1.25 coming in for every dollar going out. That's simple. And if you're short of that, well, how, something goes wrong, you're not going to be able to pay this loan back. So we do private money to purchase it, fix it up, get it to a stabilization point, which is generally about 85% occupied. Now you're occupied to a point where you can debt service it. Now we take out that private money loan. Thank God we don't have to make that payment every month anymore. And we get into institutional financing. And that's the culmination of that you see in that picture, is when we finally got them into institutional financing. And I kind of make myself obsolete. Once I get them to that point, they don't necessarily need me. Although clients come back all the time, and these guys have come back as well, because I'm still going to get you the best rates, terms. I'm just connected to every banker and who's doing what and who's got special rates right now. So these guys came to me. I think we did a couple private money loans. They came to me after the first one. We're like, well, when do we get to do institutional financing? I'm sick of doing this high interest rate stuff. And I said, okay, you've got month-to-month leases. You've got, something that's kind of in disrepair. It's not fixed up. It's not ready for prime time. So when you guys are doing it the right way, kind of playing the game, that's when you get to walk into a bank and they say, oh yeah, it's fully leased up, looks good. You guys are doing good. You've got a couple of properties that are cash flowing. Yeah, we'll do it. So it seems like you can't get there, but you get that first one kind of any way you can. And then you get the second one and the third one, and then it becomes an addiction. You just want to do more real estate. And that's where these guys are at now.
Yeah. And also, so to go back to where we kind of started, I know you're probably going to talk about it a little bit later, but like land contract, for example. So we started out with our first property we purchased on a land contract. So it's pretty much the seller acting as a bank for the other half. So we bought the first property, we came with half, and then we closed the deal, and we ended up paying off the property. It came with a few tenants. And the next one after that, we bought in the Wayne County foreclosure auction. So then fast forward to today, the property we bought let me not say that. I guess can't reveal that, but the tenant that we have now, so to highlight in December, about a year ago. So we bought the property in December. Mm-hmm. We worked with Dennis to get the hard money loan. So we came with half. So normally with hard money deals or land contracts, usually got to come with 50% of the money, cash, liquid. So we got the property in December. We turned around. So now we own it. We put it on the market, and we got a tenant that was interested in probably about a month or two. And from there, we negotiated the deal. I mean, it took probably 4 or 5 months. I mean, to
really negotiate that lease and all those terms, and we still missed a few things.
Yeah, we still missed a few things,
even though we had attorneys.
Yeah, and those attorney fees, I mean, they rack up now. You call them. I mean, the clock's ticking. It's ticking. So, but we eventually closed, and so we signed a 7-year lease with them. So at that point, then Dennis brought us to Superior to work with Liz Rader from Superior.
Code name, Mama.
Yeah, we called Liz Mama. Yeah, we called myself like, oh, we don't want to tell what is going on. But we came to her with the 7-year lease. Dennis brought it to the table and said, hey, this is the tenant. This is what they're doing. The financial statement, everything. They want a lot of paperwork, like you said, a whole lot of paperwork.
I think we're experts at personal financial statements.
Right. Yeah, you've got enough of them now.
Pro formas. For example, that's something I didn't know anything about at the time. So, but we were able to leverage the whole point of getting the hard money loans to get in and get out quickly as possible.
Yep.
So you think about it, you got in December, high interest rate, probably you think 14, 15%.
15%.
5-6 months later, turn around, we got 4.5% interest only for a year during the construction. So we got the money to pay off the hard money lender, then turn around and got additional money to do the construction on the project. And so that's where we're at today. And we actually turned over the building late January to the tenant.
And now that puts them in great position to do the next one. They're cash flowing on that one. They've proved that they can do it. We've cleaned up the credit. Daryl has stopped going with these women that have to sign. He's got to sign for everything. With my thing in the near future that you didn't tell me about.
But,
Daryl and Gerald are happily married.
Yes.
Yes.
But even after,
you better clean that one up. Yeah, we are happily married.
In my house, it's my kids that I'm always co-signing for, so they're just as bad.
Yeah. So after that, we just repeated the process. So we bought the building next door, which completed the block. We came working with the same hard money lender with Dennis. We came with half the money. We turned around. We worked with John Schuing from Detroit Development Fund, paid the hard money lender off, and now we're going through the whole construction phase. And shortly, once we put a new facade on it, we're going to put it on the market for lease.
And there's times that people think, I'm never going to get to where these guys are. And I'll tell you, when I first talked to these guys, their thought was, well, I'm never going to get to where my buddy is. So everybody thinks, oh, it's so far away. We've got to do so much. Just do it. Just start it. Just do that first one. Like I said, land contract, private money, whatever it takes, just make that one happen. And it's going to be a little pain, but then the next one gets easier and the next one gets easier. And now you've proven that track record. So again, I go back to what I said earlier. So often people think, well, that's not for me. That's for somebody else. They own property. It's not rocket science. It's just a little bit of hard work, maintaining the building, getting the right tenants in. And once you get the hang of it, now you go from that first one to a stable of properties.
Yeah, and then it's another big thing that we're coming on here because we made a lot of mistakes, and a lot of them were out of ignorance. It wasn't like we just made a mistake. It's just things that we just did not know.
You don't know what you don't know.
And you don't know what you don't know until somebody said it to you. So that's why we're here coming to you all today, just to let you know the things that are out there, the resources that are out there. Like, I always felt the biggest crooks was those environmental but I mean, you got to have them. There's dollars out there to give you tax breaks and everything. You just have to learn how all of the stuff work. And sometimes learning from afar about, the theory of it, it really doesn't work till you get to the practical of it and getting your hands dirty with the entire process. And that's where we at now. Our hands are in there. Our hands are dirty, and we're learning the process. So, we pretty much have a process and a pattern down to success for us. But I mean, a lot of things couldn't have really happened. We just have to say, Dennis, you was that guy that really got us together. You pulled us together, showed us how to connect the dots and get all those missing pieces of the puzzle.
And I appreciate that, but that goes both ways. So many people throw their hands up and say, "Oh, it's just too hard. I'm not doing it." Again, they sit at the bar and they talk about how great it would be, and they're going to be billionaires someday, but they never do it. You guys did it, and guess what? There might be a different problem on the next one. That environmental guy might find something in the ground. I mean, it happens all the time. There's an old oil container, because they used fuel oil years ago. Got to take that out. Oh my goodness, that's another expense. There's always something. It's never easy, but it's understand you're going to get over that hurdle. That's what these guys understood. They were cool with it. Hey, just bring on the next thing and we'll get over it. We know it's a pain in the neck. And then they got there. And then they got there on the next one. And it's certainly easier, but there's going to be a hurdle in the future. Just the way it is. It's the end result is worth that effort.
Yeah, and I mean, and then before we looked up, after we bought that last property, we looked up and realized that, wow, we own 10 commercial buildings. We didn't get into this to buy commercial buildings. We actually bought a cigar bar.
It's got, so to highlight what he was saying, we've probably been at this about a year, like really, okay, we're going to focus on
the real estate,
being developers. We were coined being developers. We just, first property, going back what I was saying, once we bought on the land contract and in the auction, those were just passive investments. I mean, the first one was, and the second one was for the cigar bar. And also the other thing, we did all this during the pandemic. So
yes,
it's opportunities out there. I mean, a lot of things are opening up, and it's big things to use your network. That's what you have to use. You're only strong as the people around you. You're only strong as your team. I mean, we talked to Dennis, he pulled in an accountant for us, Shaw Construction Company,
the lawyer.
From us, a lawyer. I mean, just different people,
different resources for us.
Resources that you may not have because you're not in that world. So,
right, again, it goes back to you don't know what you don't know. And then, I work with different people who are just really good, and they'll come together as a team and make this stuff happen. And obviously, Nancy's one of those people. You need good realtors out there looking for stuff. And you want them saying, hey, this is coming up. You might want to jump at it, right? As opposed to, yeah, it's been on the MLS for 3 months. I'm sure it's great. There might be a reason it's been on there. You want to be one of those people that's talking to Nancy saying, hey, as soon as you get something, let me know. I want to jump on that. And it's a little bit of a bummer to say, but guys, there's going to be foreclosures coming up here in the next couple of years.
32,000 in the city of Detroit.
So
you would never find a property cheaper than the auction. Never.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So
not unless I'm bidding against you.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful, and you have to make sure title's clean and all that stuff. But be ready. Learn what you need to learn. Be ready to get your hands dirty, like these guys said, so you can take advantage of those opportunities. I'm going to flip to the next one. So we're going to talk about SBA really quickly. So, I know we're talking about kind of investment real estate, but oftentimes you want to buy a building that you're going to occupy 51% of. You can go SBA, which means you can go with, really 10% in and then get a seller carryback, which what is a seller carryback? Seller carryback is when the seller says, this is it's $1 million building. I'll sell it to you for $1 million, but I'll give you, you only have to come to the table with 900,000. I'll give you $100,000 in a note. So kind of like a land contract. So that note, that $100,000 of equity, you can put in. So now you've got 10% into that building. So the bank and the SBA is always going to want you to come in with some skin in the game, because if there's not, what stops you from just walking away? So you're going to have some skin in the game. But if you're out there and you're buying your own building, or somebody that's buying a building, they're going to occupy more than half of it, a 504 loan is the way to go. It's going to be the least amount of money in. So it bears talking about. Let's flip to the next one. Let's keep flipping through. Keep flipping. Again, we just talked about the 504. So it's purchase, construction, renovation, anything to do with real estate. You can do it with equipment as well, but we'll keep it to real estate on this. So you can go to a 25-year amortization on that, which is going to make for a lower payment. You can do it, again, like we said, 51% occupied, and you can do the seller carryback that we talked about. So you can really get into a property for a low down payment. Let's flip it. So yeah, that just kind of breaks down what that might look like. So 50% is bank, 35% SBA, 15% from the borrower. And that 15% can be broken into a seller carryback. You could do 7.5%. Sometimes we can get you in for 10% with a 5% seller carryback. So you're only putting in 5%, which you think about that on a couple $1 million building, or even a couple $100,000. That is a great way to get in, start getting a property under your belt. Because even on a SBA 504, as long as you occupy 51%, you're eligible, which means you can lease out the remainder. So again, something to contemplate. Let's move forward. So conventional financing. Conventional financing, I get a lot of accountants and attorneys that refer clients to me. They're really busy. They own a factory or something like that, and they just want to buy a new building. Or they, on a regular basis, pick up investment properties. So they'll call me up and just say, Dennis, you know the drill. Find me the best rate, best term. I've got $500,000 in the bank. I'm going to put 15% down, 20% down. Let's go conventional. So it's a shorter application period, and you go to closing quicker, fewer hoops to jump through. Oftentimes, I know every community banker in town. Different community banks will be looking for deposits and therefore looking to be aggressive on lending at different times. Credit union consortiums, credit unions get together and lend, and that makes for, they'll do some things that banks won't do. I am very in tune with them. I've done a lot with them over the years, but it is a much more rigorous approval process. You got to have a great credit score. You got to have a lot of money in the bank. The bank on a conventional loan is lending you their own money, as opposed to if it's an SBA or they're partnering with a community organization, they're taking money, essentially out of the vault and lending it to you. So they're going to be tougher on you. But that's the point you want to get to. That picture you saw earlier of Daryl and Gerald sitting in front of that logo, they got to conventional financing. That's the goal. That's the holy grail. That's where you want to get to, because it's the quickest, easiest, best rates. Let's flip forward. So private money. We've talked a lot about private money. We've kind of beat it to death, but lenders overlook a lot of bad stuff. So if you have bad credit, okay, why? Do you never pay a bill? That's an issue. Did you have a medical issue and there's a bunch of payments that you're making? That all right, that happens to people. Greater focus on the real estate rather than the borrower. So there's two components to lending. One is the asset. The asset has to make sense. In the example earlier, if it's 20% occupied, we don't really have a good asset. That's not producing much money. The asset's good, and the borrower or sponsor, as it's sometimes called, if they're a mess, that's not good either. So we try and get to a point where they're both good. That gets us to conventional. But if one or other or both aren't good, we're probably going to need to go private money, because they'll overlook that a little bit. They're going to say, all right, building's worth $1 million. You guys have, $300,000-$400,000 to put into it, or it's going to be at that level when it's completed per the appraisal. All right, I'll lend you 65, 70% loan to value. Sometimes, these guys were saying, we had to go 50. A lot of times that's what it's going to be. It also depends on where the property's at. If it's in a little bit higher end area, the condition of it, how much improvement is needed. But you're never going to get really more than a 65% loan to value on private money lending, because really private money lender says, if you guys fail and I got to take it back, I want a quick sale and get my money back. I don't want to mess around. I'm not a bank. Terms are from 1 to 5 years. Generally, private money, though, they want to get out quickly. They want to put that money back on the street, make money again. So really, there's some that will go to 5 years, but
1 year for about 2 years.
You plan on 1 to 2 years. And I set some of these loans up where you pay it back in 6 months, you pay X. You pay it back in 12 months, X plus, 18 months, X plus plus. You pay for having their money out there longer. Points. So, a point is 1% of the loan amount. Points range from 1 to 5. Again, if it's a really rough loan and lender, I've basically talked the private money lender into doing it as a little bit of a favor. I believe in these guys, make it happen. Okay, but it's a big risk. I'm charging more points. Rates range from 6.5 to 13. Plan on closer to 13 on private money. Again, if it's a really low loan to value, if it's in a really great area, it's in great shape, you got a steal on it somehow, you'll be closer to that 6.5, but plan on high single to double digit interest rates, which again, oftentimes we can do interest only for the period of the loan, which is great. You're not taking any of the principal down, but that's okay. Just pay the interest, let the private lender make their money, because you're going to take it out with that conventional loan in 6 to 12 months anyway. It's painful, but it's worth it. And at the end of the day, you've made way more money than you paid that private money lender.
Yeah, because I saw the conventional finance or the bank, they're not going to lend you money on a vacant building if you're an investor. Now, they may lend it to you like what Dennis was saying. If it's going to be owner occupied, they will lend it to you on that. But an investment, a vacant building, it's not cash flow. They're not going to lend you the money. So you're going to have to use the tool of private money financing, or sometimes a CDFI may loan you the money to do that. Then after that, like you said, 3-5 months, take them out, and then now you can step into conventional and the construction loan.
And land contracts. So if the market's great, the seller will say, well, yeah, I'll do a land contract, put 30% down. Well, if I had that kind of money, I'd go get a bank loan. In the market we're at right now, obviously with COVID and things, it's a little bit of a buyer's market. Because, if you're buying an office building, if you're buying a strip mall, pretty much any commercial building for the most part, you could say, hey, no, but I'll take this thing off your hands. So you're not paying the capital expenditures, you're paying the insurance and the utilities and maintenance and all that. So I'll put 10% down. Give me that land contract. Go ahead. Sorry.
The other thing they could do too, Dennis, is they could dig into their personal finances, try to get a personal line of credit. We sought and looked into that afterwards. It probably would have been another advantageous way to do things, because the buildings that you buy would still be free and clear. You would just be on the hook for the debt for the line of credit, and the building wouldn't have a mortgage on it. So that's another way to play the game with financing and keep your property free and clear where you can actually leverage it. Like in some of the cases, we've leveraged some of the buildings that we have that have no mortgages on.
Yep. It not only can, and certainly seek that stuff first. And I always tell people, and it's funny, people are like, well, what's the angle? Why are you telling us this? You're not going to make any money. That's okay. Do the right thing, and people will call you again on the next one. So there's times I'll tell people, well, you just showed me your PFS. You got a $500,000 house with no mortgage, and you want to buy a $200,000 building. Why are we talking? Go to your residential guy, get a home equity loan on this thing, pull the money out at 2-3%, and do that. And they're like, well, yeah, I never thought of that. Okay. And again, they look at me sideways like, well, what's the angle here? How is it helping you? It's not helping me at all, but this is what I do. I want to help you get the best rate term situation you can. And then when you do your second one and you can't go to the piggy bank of your house anymore, call me and we'll take care of you there. But yeah, exhaust those. You're right, Daryl. Exhaust those if you can first. And an interesting thing about commercial mortgages, they don't show up on your personal credit. It's an interesting thing. So if you do go to buy a house, that's not going to show up there. But the personal, when you do anything personally, whether it's a home refinance or a personal loan line of credit, that will show up on your line of credit, and it does affect future commercial lending. So it's just, you got to kind of decide, what mix of that stuff do I want, and think that through, and then and that's something, certainly I can help you with, these guys could help you with. And okay, what's the best route to go? Whether we mix and match that or just do one or the other. All right, let's flip the slide. Keep going. Securities backed line of credit. That's something that's interesting. If you have a lot of stock, you can actually go to an institution and say, I want to borrow against that. And if it's traditional stock, you can absolutely, and you can borrow up to 65% of the value of eligible securities, 75 to 99% of bonds. Interesting, something that I've done in the past. Again, it's one of those things. Well, if I had all those securities, I'd just liquidate them and borrow. Yeah, but sometimes you don't want to. I had a client who had a bunch of Tesla, and he did not want to liquidate that because he knew he was not going to be able to get back in where he is now. So we did a securities backed line of credit. He got done what he needed to do, paid it back, and it's a really, really low interest rate. It's just another tool to do this stuff. So again, something to think about. And oftentimes it doesn't need to be yours. You go to that uncle who's got a bunch of money and he's got a bunch in the market and say, hey, would you do this for me? Your rate that you're going to borrow at is going to be 2.5%. I'll pay you 8% to get this done. Okay, great. Everybody makes money. So there's a lot of ways to skin a cat out there. Again, bankers are really good, but generally they're not entrepreneurs and they're not going to get into this type of thing with you. They're going to say, nope, got rejected. I'm moving on to the next one. So let's flip to the next slide. Flip to the next one. Keep going. Self-directed IRA. So this is one, you can't do it for your own properties, but you can do it for somebody else's. So if you go, I had a client that went to a good college friend and said, hey, I need a couple $100,000 to buy this building to open this business in. And she said, all right, let's do the self-directed IRA. And I directed them to a company that does this. You pull it out. It's just as it suggests. You get to decide how you do it. It's perfectly legal. All the tax laws are the same. If you lose your money, though, you lose your money. That retirement money's gone. But that happens if it's in the stock market and the stock market goes wrong. Obviously, it's a little bit more risky, but you can be a real estate investor by using a self-directed IRA. Again, just another way to skin the cat. Let's flip to the next one.
One second.
Basically the same thing with the self-directed 401k. Let's go to the next one. So that's it. It's a lot. Like I said, not terribly exciting. And, Nancy, I think you had some questions. I don't know how much time we have. If you want to talk about a couple of those, or I can read from them. But certainly if anybody needs to get a hold of me, that's all my information. Best way is call my cell. We'll talk about your situation. We'll figure it out. And then if it's something that makes sense to move forward with, I'll tell you everything that's needed. Some of the basic items you're always going to need is a personal financial statement, which is just how much money do I have? What do I owe? I mean, it's obviously a lot more than that, but that's the gist of it. And again, these guys have become experts at it because I've had them do,
We doing them every 2-3 months.
But it changes, and lenders want to see what you have at this point in time. And the cool thing is theirs gets better as they get more buildings and they make more money off those buildings. Their personal financial statement gets better. We need to look at credit. We need to look at 3 years tax returns for your personal taxes and any corporations you own. We need to get that financial picture. And again, that's why it's a little bit more of an art form in commercial than just kind of typing it in and putting in desktop underwriting for residential.
So I would suggest, or definitely we will suggest totally, using QuickBooks if you can. And if you're not familiar with it, get an accountant because they're going to ask for balance sheets, P&L statements, business tax returns. And these things get more and more complicated and stuff on how you're going to classify construction costs and things of that nature. You're going to capitalize these things. Because like recently, I was getting to a point now, like, it's getting a little bit out of my expertise.
TurboTax isn't doing it for you anymore.
I was doing something.
I think he's already there. He's not at the point. He's ready to throw in the towel.
I had to hand it off. I did the P&Ls. I told Carol, I was like, this doesn't look good. I was like, I don't think I'm doing this right. So,
and that's one of those things people say, well, I don't want to spend the money on an accountant and a bookkeeper. Okay,
you have to.
At the end of the tax year, when you owe a bunch of money or you screwed something up or you can't get funding, you wished you had spent that, $50 to $100 a month on a bookkeeper.
Well, it would have been nice on our taxes if we could have reported that loss that he had on there reporting, but we probably would have went to jail afterwards.
Yeah, but what he's saying definitely like paying the bookkeeper $100 a month versus like recently we got a pretty hefty bill from our accountant, but they did what they need to do to clean up my mess I put in there. But accountant is going to charge you a higher per hour rate. So
if you do the bookkeeper and you do it from day one and get QuickBooks day one, I tell all my startup businesses, just do it the right way. Well, I can do it on Excel. You can until you don't, and it's 6 months in or 2 years in, you haven't filed taxes, and then you pay an accountant a bunch of money to unravel it all. Just start day one, do it, get QuickBooks Online, get a bookkeeper, go do your business, whatever that is, build your widget, buy your properties, let the bookkeeper take care of it. I'm telling you, because I did it for years and it was a mess. I got a bookkeeper and say, oh my God, why didn't I do this before?
Okay. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
So I do have a comment from Reginald Harris. He says, good information. We have one comment so far. We're going to go to commercial. And if anyone else would like to leave their comments, we're going to watch our membership video featuring Daryl and Gerald from our commercial workshop last summer. But if anyone would like to send messages, we are live and we have about another 8 minutes. So we'll finish up with a couple of questions if anyone has any. Here's our commercial. Hi, I'm Nancy O'Neill, the director of the Detroit Business Hub Group. We were recently featured in Fortune and Entrepreneur magazine. I started DBHG to help real estate and insurance agents compete in today's competitive marketplace. As a former real estate and insurance agent, I did not have a mentor myself who I was accountable to. As a member of DBHG, we network, mentor, and train sales professionals to be competitive in today's marketplace. Our certification and accreditation helps you to level up.
One of the big reasons we became part of this was to be around other people that are involved with the same kind of business we're in, which is real estate. And we don't want people to go through some of the things we went through as far as trying to find financing. We're trying to give those resources to people so they know where to go, to get that information and get those lenders and contact information. It's not just finance, but also, like you said, mentorship involved in, anything from finding your appraiser to finding your commercial real estate agent.
I believe with the mentorship program, you can really catapult yourself into a long-term successful career as an insurance agent or real estate agent. As a DBHG member, you receive access to experienced business coaches in your industry and coaching sessions, access to capital, access to DBHG mastermind coaching sessions, access to DBHG podcasts, access to webinars, in-person seminars and workshops, access to our DBHG certification and accreditation programs, and networking opportunities with like-minded professionals in your industry.
There were a lot of things that we learned along the way, and it was a great tool for us to come here. And I think it's beneficial for the people here that don't know about how to go about purchasing and all the resources that are out there, to get that information from someone like me that can make their journey easier for them, that they don't have to reinvent the wheel.
So what Detroit Business Hub Group means to me is connecting with other business owners and professionals through a network of peers so we can all learn and grow together. Ideally, we all learn to do business together as well. Networking is so important because we all need to learn to build and grow together. Networking is the lifeblood of any business. After all, if the consumer doesn't know about you, how can they do business with you, right? So somebody told me once before that if your phone isn't ringing, you're not in business. We all need to keep our phones ringing. Mentorship is so important because we all have to learn and try to shorten the learning curve as much as possible so we can gain success faster. Anybody who's experienced success has also experienced failure. So the idea is to try to shorten the learning curve to get to the point of success faster and easier. If we don't need to reinvent the wheel, if there's mistakes that we know other people have made, let's learn from that and try to avoid those same mistakes.
Yes, I'm working with DBHG. We have an event coming up January 22nd, and we are launching an investment club, and I'm excited about it. I just want to give everybody an opportunity to be able to build wealth and leave a legacy to their family as well. So this would be like with the opportunities that I have in front of me, that it'll be profitable, we'll do very well, and everybody will be happy. I'm going to be telling my story, some of my strategies, and things that I did to build my real estate portfolio, and then also launching the Real Estate Investment Club.
A lot of professional networking from a real estate perspective. Today we have a commercial seminar, very informative, met a lot of different professional people in real estate, investment, a lot of investment consultants. So overall, in my last year, it's been a very positive networking experience.
Networking is the lifeline, the blood of it. This is a relationship-based business. That's the bottom line. You're only good as your name, and people is what they view you as. So,
networking is very important. Relationships are always key with anything that you do. You find out that the recommendations of some people, that a lot of the banks use the same people. A lot of the real estate agents go to the same people, and because they know their work and they trust that they're going to be honest with their evaluations of different things. So
where like-minded people come together for one common goal, and we are heavily, focused on community service, and that's what really the organization is really the roots, what we're rooted on is actually helping the community. That's one of the big things of us getting involved with commercial development, is to try to redevelop our communities. That's what this whole thing is really all about.
Minority business owners today need mentorship, training, and networking opportunities. We provide that with DBHG. Okay, well, Daryl, I'm checking our comments now. I don't see additional comments right at the moment. We'll wrap up by you telling us the additional services that you offer and how we can contact you.
So I do everything from, like I said, I help businesses start. So business plans, projections, all of that, whether it is commercial real estate or they want to open a franchise or they want to buy a business that they're working in. I help with acquisitions. I help prep sellers, business owners for sale. Again, a lot of SBA. So if somebody wants to open up a Jimmy John's down the street, I help them with that. If they want to buy a $5 million building, I help them with that. Everything in between. Obviously, commercial real estate, we do a lot of that. Lines of credit to buy commercial real estate, we do that. So really anything to do with small business lending, commercial real estate, SBA, and obviously the consulting side. So if somebody's having problems in their business and they want me to come in and help them, oftentimes banks will call me in to help one of their clients, kind of clean it up so they can pay it, so they can debt service that loan. So all things small business.
Sounds great, Dennis. Well, thank you so much for joining us and being our special guest today. JEDA Group, thank you for the warm introduction. Dennis was able to meet some of the other realtors that we work with the Real Estate Collaborative today in Southfield. So we appreciate them allowing us to use their offices. And Dennis, just in case they did not see it in the PowerPoint, what's the best way for anyone interested to get a hold of you?
Cell phone is always great and easiest for that initial conversation, 313-802-1776. Office number 248-924-2410. And the really long email address, murphy@indbusinessconsulting.com.
Sounds great. Well, thank you once again, Dennis and Gerald and Daryl, for joining us. We look forward to hopefully you partnering with us, Dennis, in terms of membership, and we can talk about that one-off. Of course, you just watched our membership video. So we hope you join us for future podcasts. And Daryl and Gerald with the JEDA Group, they're already corporate members. So we look forward to us continuing our relationship with you as well. Everybody, we air on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 or 7 p.m. Make sure that you join and subscribe to our YouTube channel, just under Nancy O'Neill, DBHG. And hopefully we will see everyone this Thursday at 6. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Everybody have a good evening. Bye-bye. Okay, I'm going to podcast.